Hello and welcome into North American PPL. You might be a little bit surprised to see me, aggro, normally on the Smite side of things, but you won't be as surprised to see me as you should be to see to the man to my left. Young man, pretty hair, no longer. Well, that hair is still pretty, let's be real. Nicholas, pretty hair Keogh, got the haircut for charity. I gotta say, man, memes aside, it looks great.
Thank you, man. Thank you. For the kids, you know, there's two options, 12 inches or 15 inches to cut off for the kids, but they all apparently prefer 15, so you got to give the people what they want.
Man, it's going to take a while to get used to it just for us. I can only imagine how different it's going to be for you, but excited to see it. A new era has dawned upon the Paladins Premier League. It's pretty hair with short hair. You going to change up the casting style at all? Maybe get like a little more savage?
I don't know, man.
I might start going with an accent. Like,
maybe.
You don't know. A lot of different
I could have
things.
just pretended to be a completely different person today.
Could have.
Maybe a missed opportunity.
Yeah, you could be whoever you want to be now. The door is wide open, but we'll see what happens there, I suppose. Let's get into it. Today we've got North America. We had a great day of Europe yesterday, and this is all in the name of getting towards DreamHack. That's what I've been saying on the Smite side and what I'll continue to say now on Paladins. Remember, 16th through the 18th, highresexpo.com is the place to go. If you want to see how good Nick's hair looks in person, that's the place to do it. Tickets on sale now. Make sure you get that as soon as possible. Let's take a look and see what we've got for overall this Paladins broadcast schedule, all the Paladins Pro you could ever want. We got a lot of stuff going on. Esports Weekly Monday starting at 1 p.m. You guys are a little bit later than we are. And then 3 p.m. for the console series there. Then Tuesday through Friday, 11 a.m. is where you can catch the global series. And every single day at 3 p.m. you'll see that Paladins Premier League. And as I said, Europe yesterday, North America today. Yesterday, we saw the top two teams, Fnatic and Na'Vi, battle it out and ended up being pretty one-sided in Fnatic's favor. We've got the NA side of the top two matchup here today, G2 versus Envy.
Hoping to have this one be a little bit closer. I think Lazy from Na'Vi vocally upset about their performance yesterday because I wasn't lying. I mean, they really do go the distance more often than not. Na'Vi take 2 losses, and that's pretty big for Fnatic. Fnatic are 5-0, having already played their 2 games against Na'Vi. That's their biggest competition. Frankly, there's no reason they shouldn't just be able to push through to the finish line for another undefeated split.
Fnatic continues to dominate. G2 right there, a little bit behind Renegades because Renegades has a couple extra games in hand, but G2 is the de facto #1 team in NA right now. Envy just trying to catch up with that 2-1 record. Envy did have a pretty solid performance in Vegas, though. I mean, they looked great there. What do they need to do against G2 specifically?
Well, it's really weird because every time they play, it's for the first time they played in the PPL ever with this full roster, like a bunch of guys getting called up from the PGS since last year. It's like a really good game, and then it's like Envy will smash, and then G2 smashes, and it's almost like they need to each go to the lab after every matchup, cook up some new plan, and then just completely hit the other team with something they haven't seen before. But this is a completely new G2 roster. They've only played Envy once, or actually never with Rock Monkey. That's what's so big about this matchup is the first time these two played in this split, they didn't have this DPS, this Rock Monkey, this guy that has gotten more respect than any other North American player from the European players.
Yeah, Rock Monkey's been getting hyped up quite a bit, and Evil Eye might have his hands full in that regard. The opposite side, Blaster now for G2. These two guys, I think we're going to see a lot of prioritization likely between these two. Is that what you expect?
I think so. And talking about Random Noob and Evil Eye, the Blasters are always something North America has lacked. They've never been on par with Europe. Evil Eye is the closest we've ever had. Random Noob's now coming into the scene. And I think because of that, that's why you're seeing Envy be able to compete not only with G2, but with some of these European teams because they have that huge, I mean, it's funny to talk about it's like a small thing. It's not a small thing. It's this huge element of the game that North America was just missing.
Right, they just couldn't hold up in that regard, and even having good players in other roles, you got to have everyone up to snuff.
It's Pacheco getting Bomb Kings or Drogos' last picks and just slaughtering you with them. It's like it can't happen.
Right, and now it's time for Envy and G2 and other teams in North America to try and step up, and with guys like Evil Eye and Random Noob, they certainly can. But Rock Monkey, I mean, he's the one that I think I'm going to be looking out for quite a bit of here overall. I mean, like you said, he's kind of showed up out of nowhere. How well can he and Tolkien in these sort of flex spots end up working out for Envy?
Tolkien's a big part of it. Think of him as Bugsy, so to speak. He's going to fill in wherever Fasheko and Bittner aren't. That's what Toki, I think, does for this Envious roster, is what he's trying to do. He's grinding, playing a lot of Zen. He looks incredibly clean. He got the top play for the week on our Esports Weekly for this quadra kill right here. So clean. Watch his first 2 slashes, turns around 180, heavy hit for the quadra kill. So he's looking good, right? He's looking like he can fill that roster. He was pretty vocally upset, you know, when they lost against G2. Again, they didn't have Rock Monkey. Their substitute, who has never played a PPL game, to my knowledge, played in for them, and he was like, yeah, I couldn't fill his shoes. But I don't think that's the right sentiment, to be quite honest with you. I think with a full-strength team around him, he has more room to do what he does best and what he's used to doing.
Well, let's see where that room will be. The room that Toki will be occupying. Map number 1 is going to be Frozen Guard right off the bat. So we'll have to see how Envy's able to play around that one. Frozen Guard, a map where guys like Toki can have big performances.
Yeah, and he plays, he kind of almost has the same champ. Okay, so I said think of him as Bugsy. Think of him more as probably Phoenix, I think is a better comparison.
Right.
He's
Bugsy,
got
no.
Bugsy, no.
Right,
because Bugsy plays everything, right?
Right.
There's been this resurgent, or this new 3 DPS meta, right? Which means one of these tank players has had to flex and become a DPS player to some degree, right? Phoenix has his 3 that he's really good at, his Leon, his Cassie, his Shaolin. Toki is kind of that same way. He plays a good bit of Leon, a good bit of Xin, and a good bit of Cassie when it's appropriate. That's a very pick where it can go to either Rock Monkey or Random Noob or Toki, and any of those guys can play it. So he sort of just tries to fill in, but he does have his strong picks. That being Leon, that might be something that Envy looked to put him on here on Frozen Guard, where the range is appropriate for her.
Well, G2 has that first pick, and immediately Shaolin taking it off the table. In Europe yesterday, we saw a lot of Mave bans, a lot of Con bans. Is that Europe exclusive, or do we expect to see more of that in LA?
Definitely look to see Con banned out here, especially Envy's Rubu loves that pick, loves to be that aggressive frontliner. Kind of made his name with like Ruckus Fernando. He plays a lot of aggro frontline, but it's not going to be banned out. G2 will have the opportunity to take it here. Now, Con, how does he succeed on maps with longer lines of sights? We have maybe yet to feel that one out completely, because he still is, I think, relatively new to the scene.
Sure, we'll have to wait and see how that works out now for G2. Cassie is locked in pretty early here for Envy, one who could take advantage of those long sight lines. Saw a lot when Mave was banned yesterday. We saw a lot of Jin kind of take that place of the backline diver that can get behind you and make things happen. With both on the table here, I believe Mave does go to Envy. So at least if you're giving up Con, you have to at least get something in return. Is Cassie Mave good enough on the other side?
I certainly think so. I think you look at Shaw, Cassie, the bow characters. If Rock Monkey gets on a bow, I think Envious as a unit, I have just this incredible confidence boost, because those are his characters right there in the wheelhouse, as well as Mave at the Masters tournament. Win or lose, I think Random Noob had the best Mave of the tournament, hands down.
Sure, we'll have to see how it works out for him this time. As Maldamba Barrack, G2 commit to the double front line, and Envy commits on the other side to the double flanker, and now Eevee alongside that Mave. Plenty of area damage now with that Eevee.
And this is interesting, right? This is where it could be Toki on Cassie, right? Because traditionally, Random Noob has been playing the Mave, but he is the exclusive Eevee player for this roster, so he has to be piloting this for my money here. So it's who's going to be playing it, the Mave, the Cassie. I still would probably expect Rock to be playing the Cassie here, but you don't know until you get into game here. Solid draft through and through, though, for G2 as they round out with the Bucks in.
A little worried about their lack of range, though, right? I mean, this is a map with some pretty long sight lines. These are all pretty close quarters characters. Do you think that's going to hurt them?
I think if it's going to, because Envy is not a particularly long range comp either, it's not going to hurt them too much on the point fight. Where this probably will hurt them is being able to get that pick, to break that choke point when they're trying to get into the base of Envy, when they're all up on the ramparts shooting down, and there's no one to really, you have to kind of hard commit to get in there and get that pick.
We'll see what happens. G2 versus Envy, game 1 coming at you right now.
Hey everyone, Tigris and Gore here, game number 1 of G2 versus Envy. So what composition were you feeling?
Honestly, I'm leaning a little bit more towards Envy, just because not only are they getting a lot of top picks, but they're getting a lot of comfort picks in that. The Cassie, the Mave are both incredibly strong, can do a lot, and I know a lot of members of Envy who like to flex around on those.
Yeah, I am excited to see how they bring all of this together. As you've mentioned, last time Envy and G2 faced off, it was a bit different. Rock Monkey wasn't around, so they're dealing with some other strategies that they had to employ. Though I did enjoy getting to see Dethrone play, but of course, when you're having 2 players with very different styles and very different champ pools, it can be difficult.
And that's always the big thing, you know, when you get used to a team, specifically the way Envy is, and Rock Monkey wasn't there, you lose more of a presence in the sense that no one is shooting him, keeping him knocked down. Even when he misses shots, it's one of those things. His aim is what gets him in that conversation when people are talking about, like, you know, best players in the world. He doesn't miss a lot of shots, and because of that, his presence, even when he is missing anything, is keeping the enemy kind of locked down.
And then also with this matchup, the fact that Tulki is on the Maeve, Random Noob on the Eevee, where actually Eevee and Maeve are both picks that we've seen Random Noob run. They're not usually running them together, so I'm stoked to see how they bring this to the table. But early setup from Rock Monkey to attempt to get a good angle on the enemy.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see Tulki's Maeve, just because he's had some stellar performances and some lackluster performances as things can tend to go. I feel like he's been leaning a little bit more on the side of stellar, but Maeve is not something I've personally seen him go for in the past. There's a lot of damage she can bring to the table, and so far, no one's found first blood, but there are a lot of health bars that get dangerously close.
Yep, Tulki had gotten chunked down a bit and had to retreat. I Drop Bodies, I liked how close he had gotten to Rock Monkey. Random Noob is the first to fall to Evil Eye. So I think if you look at Buck and Zin in this scenario, both of them were doing the very typical flank thing, right? You try to find those targets that you had your sights on as soon as the draft locked in. And they did a tremendous job where even though I Drop Bodies didn't get the complete kill onto Rock Monkey, it showed his ability to actually have some level of control too with his pursuit. 99% though, and that's a capture.
You know, this is kind of what I expect out of these two teams. It's one of those things, there weren't a lot of kills. Right now you get to, I think, number 3, 4, or 2, 3, and 4, right there. They got 1 kill overall, and that's what gave G2 that leg up, that little bit of a step they needed to be able to control the point. And that's kind of what I expect out of these two. It's kind of a chess game when it comes down to it. One wrong move is really all your opponent needs to be able to scoop that away. And while there's areas where you can make your comeback, you have to play very carefully to make sure you get there.
2 minutes to go on this push, but it's already at 50% of the way. You can see where it's passing through right now. Can be a difficult choke to break through. Rock Monkey, a very long line of sight, and was landing some of those hits, but there's enough cover for G2 to be able to back into. And Tulki is in pursuit of I Drop Bodies. He was using that cover that I just mentioned.
Being able to go forward, that was what I was waiting on. I was actually just about to say, you know, I know Tulki knows how much damage Maeve can do.
Right.
And, you know, even if you're not as comfortable on it, you can kind of get yourself rolling right there. He finds dose-ups as well. Just being able to hit a couple daggers into a pounce can burst down a Buck, it can burst down a Barrack, and he showcased that perfectly.
That was a very nice way to stem the bleeding here. And on the side G2, it's a few ultimates that are up, actually almost all of them. Kind of across the board, everyone is enacting a bit of a delay before they go too aggressive with any major play. Cusscutie gets another double kill, so it's this kind of consistent level of aggression as opposed to just blowing all of your ultimates at once, right? Cuss has closed a lot of the gap between the enemy team, and Evil Eye now swinging away as well.
And it's really working well for G2 because you can see kind of 2 front lines, a Buck, corralling members together. It's like, okay, 2, 3 of you are going to be standing on top of each other, to which Zen just says, perfect. You know what Yomi does? All 3 of you are getting smacked right here. 2 of you are getting smacked right here. No matter what, he's getting a ton of damage pushed out. It's allowed them a lot of ground on this payload. 30 seconds left, and with a kill on to Mr. Hayes right there, there's not a lot of healing on board for Envy.
Yep, off of the midnight, no kills in the favor of Team Envy, but instead G2 picks up 4, only losing 1 in the process, and that's a 2-0 for them to start off this set.
Looking at the way yesterday went, and this is the prime example for me, Fnatic versus Na'Vi, where you have these 2 teams that, again, have been butting heads pretty much every time they clash. You never know who's going to win, and Fnatic comes through and just wins. They turn whatever they turned on, and they treat Na'Vi like they're anybody else in Europe right now. That's kind of how that round felt from G2 right there. Not necessarily really foreboding, I want to say, the rest of the set, but knowing that they are at that point where it's like, you know what? We don't want to butt heads anymore. We don't want to be even with you. We want to be the #1 team.
And we've kind of noticed in the past, it almost turns out as if each week has a theme to it, whether it's week and stuff like that. So maybe that'll be something that happens where the theme that Fnatic had set with their matchup that we typically do mirror G2 and Envy as of late comparatively. Who knows? But right now, some Scout as well as an Ice Storm from Team Envy. And that's 31% achieved for them so far. Sometimes you don't need to get the kills to be able to finish, but there was a spike right into the block of that column. and ends up getting punished by Random Noob.
Evil Eye showed that Ice who was boss, chopped it into blocks even with that sword. It happened so quick you couldn't even see. Before that, it was just one solid piece. Either way, that death doesn't seem to have hurt too much on the side of G2 because they're still picking up kills. 3 right there as they come in to grab the point. Rubu not going to live long enough to stay there, and that was just systematic.
Another team wipe. 45% in climbing for G2. They used all of their ultimates there. I mean, the spy was technically a bit before that, maybe one that you would prefer to forget, but just ended up getting the grip up onto Inara, sending them away, and right now Cutie offering this cover to iDrop Bodies as he lands some shots into the shields.
And just being able to grab it, you can see the zone that comes through, dismounting. The problem I have, honestly, with the way Envy've drafted is not the draft itself, but again, one of those things, and I think this is important because it doesn't feel like Envy, but it's also important that they're trying things that don't feel like them. Being able to kind of reach past yourself, knowing something that is, you know, this is the standard Envy draft, this is just what they like to go for, and having that comfortability that comes in being able to flex. It's one of the things that I've mentioned yesterday and today that Fnatic is very good at, and I think that's the separation G2 is very good at, and so when you want to hit that next level, you have to be very good at it.
Actually, a few shots into the enemy flanks, but iDrop Bodies is the one to drop after that. Just a little too much for him to handle in that specific scenario. As we go into minute 45 on this push, Cutie falls to Rock Monkey. And maybe Team Envy will be able to use some of the resources at all. They have a few ultimates available to them, and taking advantage of this choke and actually pushing beyond it.
Being able to hold this archway, this is one of the areas that it's a little bit more, I want to just say rocky when you're trying to hold it or push past it, no matter what, because there's a wall there that blocks your vision. If you want to get aggressive as a defender, you really have to be sharing your skill, so being able to hold these angles is helping Envy out a lot, but you can see immediately having to fall back. There's not as many great places to fight from the defense as there are if you're aggressive.
Oh. As far as G2 and the way that they're handling that situation, because Team Envy was able to use that archway, they've actually managed to get them to back off. And Cutie, whenever he seems to take out Random Noob, that leaves an opening for the rest of the team to follow, because it's not the first time he's done so. iDrop Bodies from this side angle, now making his way through to get a few shots as Maeve and Cassie were chunked down so low on the struggle bus right now, into the face by iDrop Bodies, onto the side balcony, and even with this Midnight might pose a little bit of trouble, but ends up getting gripped up by Cutie. It doesn't matter. I see you clear as day as I send you to the grave, and G2 Esports take game 1.
That was a great showing from G2, and I want to say, I'm looking at the map right now, right? You're going to Frozen Guard. It's not really a standard practice as of right now. It's kind of getting into that area where you're going there more often, but any team can have a bad map, and I'm kind of hoping that's what happened there for Envy. It did not feel similar to them in terms of draft, in terms of play, or maybe G2's just that good, and they've really been able to kind of pull out what Fnatic did yesterday.
They've been putting in the work, and even though we talk about how it was a little different shift in roster from the first time to this time, yeah. G2, either way, has been looking great with their level of play. So let's see what the desk has to say.
Wow, that's what I've got to say. Anything else from you, Nick?
I mean, I'm wrong again, I guess. Normally a very competitive set. I swear I'm not lying to you. Normally Envy would put up a much better fight than that against G2. The draft looked incredible for them. They're getting power picks. I thought even Random Noob played phenomenally. You saw a couple of great 1v1 with him and Evil Eye. He was outplaying people. Yep. He was baiting himself, getting out of fights nicely. Like, a lot of things are going right for Random Noob in particular, but for the rest of Envy, it just looked like a struggle.
Man, everyone from G2 just had their way. I mean, especially iDrop Bodies on this buck. I mean, I said that I was a little bit concerned about how well the sight lines would end up playing here on Frozen Guard. Would G2 have enough long range? But when Drop Bodies is just jumping on everyone, range, who cares about their range? He was just going from minute 1.
Another pretty cool thing they were doing was obviously Cusco straight into the morale boost to get as many overpowers, force chokes, if you will, off as he can. Buckwild, normally a very hard ultimate to get full duration off of, but he was just using, he would pull in a support, anyone really, flip the shotgun and just start chunking away at him, making it very easy for iDrop Bodies to get that guaranteed pick on a map that normally doesn't have a lot of hazard zones to work with, right? So you can't be dunking people off the map. You have to go to your guns.
Right, it ends up working out nicely because you still get value out of that Buck Wild after that initial kill. off the overpower. So G2 look pretty solid. Do you think there's any way that Envy give Cuss that con again? I mean, that's like the map to give it to him on, right? And it still didn't work out.
Right. There's a lot of just things that they were so hard to kill, right? Outside of like the Barrack and the Maldamba, but they stayed pretty close together. Damba just mostly pocketing Barrack, but then you've got Zin, you've got Buck, you've got Khan. Those are incredibly hard characters to bring down. The Maeve wasn't having impact, and I think Cuss with the battle shout, with all of the iframes there is a lot of outplay potential when there's just like this big discrete moment of burst with the Street Justice pouncing people. I think Cuss was probably able to play his way around to some of that burst damage.
Well, let's see where G2 will be taking on Envy next. Map number 2 will be Jaguar Falls, so one that has a lot of verticality on and around the point. You'll see a little bit. You also have those little side rooms as well, where champions, almost had gods there, like Buck, like Jin, can end up making another big impact. So Envy,
Evan still says deicide. It's okay.
Does he? Okay. Well, all right. Then I don't feel so bad. Maeve going to be the first ban here for Envy. Even in that first pick slot, they don't want to go for it in this game.
I think maybe at this point feeling like, we don't want you to have it, but we don't really want to do it.
We don't really need it either.
We're all right after that one.
Yeah, and Con.
Pretty much. That's the story of after game 1. Jorgos will be gone. Makoa, of course, top of the food chain, peacing out once more. Didn't have a problem with anything from the Cassie, and that's always been Cassie for me. I don't know. She's solid. She's A+, but I'm never like, wow. Like, I'm never blown away by it.
Right.
But it's always just like, cool. It's like there. It's doing its thing. Good anti-heal. Good this. Good that. Good. There's no reason not to pick it.
Sure. But Genos does go through, and G2 going to grab that up very quickly alongside the Bomb King. Fernando taken off the table, and Fernando not one that usually gets picked this early on, at least in my limited experience here. Why do we see Fernando's second pick?
Just Rubu. He loves the aggressive nature of this front line, as well as the ability to spearhead a charge, just to kind of bodyguard. Fernando's a great tag team partner just to get you into a situation there, something like the Buck. Also, I think, honestly, yes, it's Rubu, but Fernando and Buck feel like these are good takeaways from G2. Cuss has been pretty comfortable on Fernando in his short time on the front line, as well as the Genos-Buck combination is starting to creep its way back up in priority because it can absolutely abuse you.
Sure. Now you're kind of looking at Genos Leon as your main, Genos Bomb King. Like, that's where that Luminary is going to go. And Nara will round out the double frontline composition for G2. But on the other side, Envy does have 2 healers in the Pip and the Maldamba. So if Envy get point control, their team look like they can hold it fairly well. Do you think we'll see a better showing from them here in
Probably.
game 2?
It's going to be execution based definitely on this Pip. Pip has, he can look incredible, but can also fall very hard flat on his face. It's very incredible to see Inara. I think this is probably her best map, and to see her go last, it definitely shows how well these teams are playing around each other in particular, not just going straight forward with any meta drafts.
Well, hopefully Envy able to put up a better fight than they did in game 1. Let's throw it over to the casters for game 2.
If someone can pop off on the Pip and they can bring this composition together, then maybe they'll be able to even up the set.
There's a lot of stuff, again, similar to the last map, where the draft feels great. It just comes down to execution of it. Does it look as good as it could be, or is it going to fall a little short of the mark that it really needs to hit?
Well, only one way to find out. This is game number 2 between G2 and Envy, as G2 had a very strong showing in game number 1. I'm sure they would love to actually keep that up here. And Envy, when you have picks like the Pip, like the Buck, things that can be pretty game-changing. As I said on the desk, it is very execution-based.
A lot that can go right, a lot that can go wrong. And we're going to be seeing healing stations, so this one's been big. I've noticed a lot of like bowling ball, kind of rocket boots builds, but this one's going back to, I want to say, kind of like the standard barrack. You've got forged alloy to make sure that your turret is healthy, and standing near your turret is going to heal you. So you stay alive as long as you have turrets out there. Makes it pretty nice, right? You just sit around on the point, you build up exactly what you want to do. It fits the play style that we've seen from a lot of these pros.
Oh yes, indeed. As far as the rotations, Team Envy is actually rotating pretty collectively to the statue side, except for Random Noob, who's keeping an eye on the objective to some degree and seeing where he's going to be most useful in this situation. Nando falling pretty low as Evil Eye follows first blood off to Rock Monkey.
Being able to get that Rubu just bouncing out with barely any health, but still enough health to stay alive. And now Tolki and Rock Monkey looking to kind of pincer some people, looking to the left or right, and drop bodies unaware of the Cassie coming up behind him.
24%, gonna go ahead and try and match up with that 30% on the side. G2, dose-ups and eye drop bodies, both falling to the wayside. Tolki has been putting a lot of work in this flank play, as we saw with the Zin during past weeks, and with the Buck right now. Cascuti fallen fairly low, but has so much sustain available to him.
Couple of good headshots so far from Tolki have led to a lot of tasty kills. Cascuti not getting a lot of headshots hitting him, but still eating that shotgun damage does not work out well. Dosup's left all alone on the point. Even with a healing station, you're not going to be able to stay alive through 4 members looking at you.
And that for Envy looked really good. You had Cuss cut off from the rest, and the fact that he was still alive is something that you kind of want to see. You're like, yeah, just still hang out here where you can't do anything. And Rock Monkey picks one up onto eye drop bodies as well. So this momentum that Envy has had from the point moving on doesn't seem to be letting up at all. Evil Eye, though, attempting to make that change.
A lot of good shots as Bomb King so far has kind of been locked down. In terms of boxing, Tolki goes down, but Rock Monkey as well as Pip going to be able to kind of just jump in, jump out wherever they need to get that damage down. Finally, a little bit of a stall, I would say, losing Rock Monkey in that area. But you've just kind of staggered out Envy in a way that they're fighting a perpetual 4v5, but they're still picking up kills as Random Noob fights too.
Ooh, gets 2 of them right there off of the Dread Serpent was actually used. Plenty of other ultimates that can come to the table, and Tolki is right on top of the objective. You see Nando push forward aggressively as well. Dosos makes his rotation, but the nice shot from the Buck as soon as he was made vulnerable. Buck Wild finds a wall, hops on over it, gets that hit as Rubu finishes off Cascuti and Envy with a swift 2-0.
All right, I'm starting to get the feeling that this map is coming down, similar to what we saw during the last map. Maybe not only the strength of the draft that comes through, although I would again say Inara Bomb King Genos on this map, it's pretty deadly. You still get to pick up something that, versus Frozen Guard, you're feeling, I think, a little bit more comfortable. And Random Noob has gone into this. The reason they're able to run this alongside the Moldamba, he's not looking as much at his healing. He's got Moxie. He's going for these 1v1s. And with that escape artist, that 24% damage reduction during waitlist, if he's losing a fight, he bounces back, doesn't take as much damage, lands, heals himself pretty much to full, gets right back into it.
With that dominating performance from Envy in round 1, G2 Esports, do you have a bit of an upward battle right now? But like you said, Cascuti's on the Inara, you've got Evil Eye on the Bomb King, both love this map. Genos is there to supplement both in healing aspects, but then just encouraging them to go into these fights pretty effectively. But Random Noob lands some nice ones into Cascuti. When you hear the King Bomb actually rotate, gets the stun, but actually pulls out the Immortal on Nando.
Having to fall back immediately, not in the position you want to be. Tolki finds one, Rock Monkey finds the other. Dosups and Cuss trying to do whatever they can on the point, and Evil Mojo still hasn't been used, so that's still in the arsenal, and these front lines, they're not lasting long enough for it to matter.
So much value without using the heavy hitters, right? You see Cascuti falling, you see both of the frontliners falling, and then you look over on Team Envy's side, bite their portraits, and you're like, oh, there's 100% on Evil Mojo. There's some other charges there, some nice streaks in general. The fact that they're maintaining such control at this level while saving these in the arsenal for later is pretty great.
And then just casual control. Scout comes out, you know where Drop Bodies is before he knows you know where he is. And you just find those shots. Someone had to get on to try and contest, get some overtime, but it just wasn't going to be enough. A 12 streak, a 17 streak right now for Mr. Hayes. Then a 7 streak for Rock Monkey as they're building it up. They grab point 3, and they're looking good.
We're at 5:08 right now on the total game clock, including the time they spend in spawn and everything. And we're 3 points deep as the payload is passing that choke point right there with the 2 walls right across from each other. And Rubu, he does not fear getting aggressive on the Fernando. He never has, he never will, and does such a great job with the help of Moldamba, just keeping himself zoned right there where G2 Esports is attempting to keep their largest bodies.
Coming from the side and still going to be safe. There's going to be the waitlist to disengage. There's a turret waiting for him around this corner. Doesn't know it yet. Not going to be enough. Does heal up before he goes on in there, so it's not going to be too big of a worry. But Dosup's trying to win this boxing battle. A good barricade, a couple of turrets. Might be able to turn it around until you tag out.
Actually gets a little bit of the fear onto some. G2 lose one right now with the Bomb King, but Envy, no Cassie, no Buck, but you still have your frontliner, you still have your healer, so as long as you wait for the rest of the team as they spawn up, you'll be in a better position to actually turn this a bit.
This gives G2 some good needed time to be able to set up a little bit of a defense. At least try to set up a trap, try to do something to give yourself a little bit of room. Unfortunately, Evil Eye, though, going to be eating a lot of damage. King Bomb coming through, but Random Noob just blasts him from behind.
He couldn't even finish his sentence, but Cuscutie is in the exact same spot that he was and lands his. Ends up getting taken out by Rock Monkey immediately after that through time and space. The double kill for the Cassie player right now as a Dome Shield comes on down from Dosubs to try and protect this payload as much as possible.
Trying to get aggressive, looking to try and just cut off the head of the snake that is Maldamba, but it's not working out well. Dosubs gets taken down as he gets aggressive. 30 seconds left on the clock. King Bomb did not get consumed last time, so it's still going to go through. This time does get consumed and doesn't get a lot.
In the end, he still died immediately after, and he actually used it this time around. Leon with the Enlightenment as well, picks up that kill. Ruber with one. Here's the buck wall from Tolki once more. Lands some shots into the enemy frontliner, but they have enough safety behind the shield.
That was good for kind of blasting damage, at least to the left and right, but now with that kill, Rubu not being present, I feel like Envy don't want to push too hard on that one, not give up too many kills. A lot of streaks burning as well that you just don't want to end quite yet. So you're in this area now. 3-1, comeback mechanic enabled for G2, much like it was last round, but you're giving them that second chance.
Oh, the rampage. Random Noob right there. We've seen this play from Random Noob before. He's on the pip. This is a comfortable pick for him. It's just a matter of how much pressure has been put on him to perform in this game in particular after that dominating performance before. But I agree with right now they just held so well and then were able to actually push us to a 3-1 where there's still comeback mechanic in the favor of G2 though.
A lot of slash lines on the side of Envy, and a lot of the members have been doing well. But Rock Monkey right now, I think, was 10-2-10. Mr. Hayes has yet to die as the way things have been going, whereas you look at the other side, Dosubs is 0-6-2, so you can see how frustrating it's going to be if you are on the side of G2, or if you're a G2 fan, not quite the impact you want to see out of it, and it's just been so difficult to kill off these two members from Envy.
Yep, 3-8-2, 4-8-0. 0-6-2. Those were not slash lines you like seeing. And Evil Eye picks one up, but ends up dying right after. Here's another shot. Random Noob taking out the enemy's support. And it's 30% to 42% right now. Some grace to get out of the way. Leon only for a short time, though, able to be safe. And then Grace is in the opposite direction.
That dash distance means a lot there. That's the difference of drop bodies dashing and then Tolki just turning and shooting, and being able to dash and actually get out of this fight and be gone forever. Still ends up finding the kill a little bit later, but in the grand scheme of the engagement right now, that gave G2 a lot of what they needed in terms of space.
It's so crazy just thinking about the normal starting distance and then see go not just through the doorway but far enough to be past it, so that there wasn't any actual angle for Tolki to take. But right now, G2's 85% is going to have to stop for the time being. A nice Dread Serpent to separate Leon, but she's also got the healing on her in that moment. A nice heavy hit and shot from Rock Monkey turns his sights to the objective.
Overtime about to tick down, going to be reset by Mr. Hayes. There's the Dome Shield to try and cause a little bit of space, and that should be enough from G2. Tolki, as tanky as he can be, is not enough to come fight back. So G2 staying alive through this map and actually in control once again.
Actually really good use of those ultimates right there in that portion where you just need enough time. You knew you were at that high percentage prior, and with Envy getting some of the picks they did on the side, particularly off the back of Rock Monkey, then G2, it's not always the fight of the battle and getting the most kills, right? You just need that zone control in the objective area.
Looking to try and bite back. Tolki takes a lot of damage to burst right at the beginning there and might go down just barely. Going to end up healed right there, but everything that Envy has been doing, a lot of the aggression, a lot of the plays has been right. What you saw throughout this entire round so far has been G2 learning how to respond to it. It was a very rough first round, and you just kind of reset yourself after that first one. You lose it, you go, whatever, let's get back into it. What's been going wrong? How do we chop this up?
Because you end up picking one up, and that's the thing. If you can figure those things out early enough where, hey, we know exactly the mistakes that were being made, you don't always have to wait till another game to make those changes actually happen. But Rock Monkey picks up a double kill. Random Noob, nice and healthy, goes way into the back to find Vex.
And honestly, sometimes there's not anything you do to change the play. There's not anything that changes anything. It's stuff like this.
The stagger.
You've been getting good shots from the side of Envy. You've been getting good kills on the side of Envy, and you are about to get staggered like crazy as Dosub. Stulky finally getting credit for that, and he is not only 5 seconds behind the timers of his team, but they're all mid-map.
And Beric's not a big guy. Takes him a little time to waddle back over to the fight.
Wow.
Gotta use those boots effectively, rocking on over there. But it's about 40 seconds to go before overtime potential sets in. And that 5 seconds or so makes a difference when you're in this final minute.
And that is time that you buy from G2, essentially. You say, look, you have way less time, 20 seconds about, let's say, that you are not going to be able to get here. It's probably not as long, maybe 15 seconds, like 10 seconds of travel plus 5 seconds of respawn, that you cannot push this payload. And while 15 seconds sounds like a relatively short amount of time, it means the world to these players.
And maybe we'll see some heavy fighting coming out now. A few ultimates online for G2. Evil Eye gets the kill before falling, a familiar story that we have seen, but Random Noob actually doing the same exact thing right now as I drop bodies, rain some really good shots into the enemy, and G2 push this forward.
I want to say similar to what we've actually seen out of Envy on this map so far, but also in a different manner, in a way that they're still getting the kills, and it's still looking crisp when they are getting them, but it's not the same, I want to say, like, flashy level of plays. Right now, Envy, the way they've been playing, I feel like this is a good map or a good game if you want to make a highlight reel for the team. Whereas on G2, it's not, hey, we're making a highlight reel out of this, but it is exactly the kind of play you need. It's like, this is the nitty-gritty. We're going to get into it. Even if we aren't winning, we will fight back until we can tie this map up.
Get down and dirty if you want the win, G2.
They are crawling through the trenches.
They are, man. But they're equipped for it. They've known themselves to be these brawlers, right? They have their personality. They have the way that they bring out things like, hey, we feel like bringing out quad DPS, so we're going to do so. We feel like winning. Let's try our best to do it. And right now, it's going to be with a bit of that objective control. Evil Eye takes a heavy hit, but winds up the King Bomb, looking for a target right down the center, onto the side by the Hazard Zone, through time and space, activated, gets the kill onto Random Noob, following up on the 2 kills achieved by Envy.
Almost able to clip off Tulky as well, but it wasn't quite enough. Envy going for a good hold to try and keep G2 held back, and as of right now, it's going to be enough to be able to give them the lead in terms of percentage. Dread Serpent going to be used. Cuss goes down, staggered out way behind the rest of his team, and so it's been going pretty back and forth. A lot of ults used, but Dome Shield, the only one still available, and a huge ult for G2.
And it's really nice having Dosubs to be able to rotate in, because you saw Leon was at that distance where, I'm the only one near the objective, but if I go in, it's pretty much suicide. And then Barrick just comes running in and say, I got you with this one. Throws down the Dome Shield right now, 69%, has to rocket boots away to find a little bit of safety, but has his turrets nice and set, locking down onto Random Noob, falling victim to that good old building skill as Team Envy lose 3 players, and they are in a tough spot right now in this sideline.
Tulky got rid of drop bodies, but immediately eats a turret as well as a slug shot to the face here as we see Dosubs get aggressive. Vex going to be able to get his hand in the pie as well to make sure some kills are coming through. Evil Eye on the side, they're looking to control. That's 99%.
Oh, and overtime finishes in G2 Esports. A victory in game number 2. A very different story from game 1. Game 1 was just so cleanly in their favor, the 4-0. But right now, Envy, they got the first 3 points, and it was feeling pretty good for them, but G2 ran it back.
And this is one of those things, you look at this, you kind of wonder which map was which. I mean, Jag Falls and Frozen Guard. Feels like Frozen Guard might be a little bit more G2 level as to where they like to go, but Jag Falls is a very, I want to say, neutral map for a lot of these teams. Everyone knows it well. So I'm kind of curious where they go here. After a 4-3 Envy, they're going to be feeling a little rough.
So, I don't know. We expect these sets to go a long time, but G2 with 2 games ahead onto Envy. Agra, are you feeling like Nick is steering you a little wrong over there?
Never in my life has Nicholas Keough steered me wrong. Not once, and I don't want to make any bones about that. Man. He may have led me a bit astray on this one, but only by the slightest margin. I'll let it slide for now. G2, man, I mean, they're down 3-0. Envy starts off beautifully. Yeah. They capture the first point, they convert, they get the next point, they're feeling good, and then they hit the brick wall.
Yeah, and that brick wall, it pains me to say it, but I think it actually was Barrick. And I don't want to give Barrick too much credit here. I do want to give Dosubs all the credit in the world. I think the turning point, it was actually a pretty concrete moment for me personally. It is that 3-0. Envy are in the progress of breaking the base of G2, but then Dosubs just gives them like this weird chicken run around the rock. He buys so much time for G2 to get their feet back under them. 3 people chase him away from the payload, back out of the base, and somehow I was watching and I was like, God, he just hasn't taken any damage for like 10 seconds, and then they finally collapse on him, blow him up. By that time, everyone else is back alive from G2.
And G2 able to convert off of that. Not the most sightly win they'll ever have.
No, it was a little ugly.
but they got there. And now that you're up 2-0, I mean, that has got to be a demoralizing point for Envy. I mean, Evil Eye looked great on the Bomb King, and everyone on G2 kind of did. How do you bounce back from this sort of game mentally if you're Envy?
Envy are good at taking games one at a time, so I think they're going to just go through this again. They have Rock Monkey and Cassie all 3 games in a row. Again, it wasn't a problem. You look at the slash lines, G2 are negative almost across the board. I think he had great matchups against the Leon. Evil Eye does start to get into a little bit of a rhythm, though, in the late stages of the game. And when you have this Luminary Bomb King, he's swinging for 1,035 per direct impact, and that is just terrifying when he gets into a rhythm. This is like the best map, like this really almost close range. Bomb King, the hardest thing about him is hitting the in-hands when the range isn't a problem. When you're not worrying about missing anything, you just do a stupid amount of damage.
And you talked about it before the set even began, right? The blaster level of play from these 2 guys specifically, and Evil Eye and Random Noob, has really elevated North America as a whole, and Evil Eye showing off what he has in that game. Let's get ready for the maps in game number 3 and see where we'll be heading as Envy look to bounce back and get the reverse sweep in their favor. It will be that Stone Keep, another map that feels to me like one where Bomb King can really dominate.
Yeah, different flavor on all 3 of these maps. A longer range map, a shorter range map, and then somewhere in the middle here for Stone Keep. And again, I think if Envy can get back to this Cassie, but I think, and I say this a lot, predictability in and of itself is a weakness, right? So if G2 are just going to lull you into this Cassie again and just have a plan around it and just being able to deal with it, then I don't think that's a good thing for Envy. But they, of their own volition, will switch things up.
Yeah, Envy decide they'll take away the Cassie. Envy's bans seem a little surprising, I think. I think they might be catching G2 off guard a little bit, at least the way it feels to me, that you don't expect them to be banning those champions in that first pick slot. They take the Shaolin, though, one that can excel in that mid-range sort of combat that is all over the place on Stone Keep. No Bomb King, though, this time around for G2. They'll go for the Drogos instead.
And they leave it open for Random Noob, which is equally as a power pick. Evil Eye on Drogos or Bomb King, Random Noob on Drogos or Bomb King. It's all fine. Eevee, though, is a different story. I actually like Random Noob's Eevee a good bit over Evil Eye's Eevee. And G2, I don't even think have settled on an Eevee player. Like I said, hard and fast, Random Noob every single time we'll play Eevee for Envy. We've seen Cuss play it, we've seen Bodies play it, we've seen Evil Eye play it for G2, so it's not completely settled pick for them. That's maybe something Envy could look to use here. I know not often, but Fnatic will and can go to this. Na'Vi, I believe, look very good with Eevee on Stone Keep, so it's something that can work, but it looks like it will be the king.
Bomb King instead, trying to match the performance Evil Eye had in that game number 2. Ruckus going to round out that selection, so Envy going with a bit of a tankier lineup here alongside Maldamba that usually ends up working pretty well.
So Genos, banned in game number 1 or 2 or 1, excuse me.
Yeah, 1
will be picked last here, and this is how these teams just get in each other's heads, right? You see the early prioritization here of the Maldamba and Nara, just because that combination gives you so much point presence. It's insane. There's nothing else like it in the game, not even close. So that allows G2 to recognize that, get themselves a lot of space, and just scoop the support last.
And they get the Buck Genos combo that you were saying is pretty potent there.
Wait till you see Luminary Fusillade, though. You hated Drogos before.
Yikes. We'll have to see how it goes now for Envy. They're trying to avoid getting swept against G2. Let's lower it over to Latigris and Gormizer.
So I think the G2 fans are feeling pretty happy right now with the way things are going. And on the side of Envy, you know they're strong, though. Their people love them. They're rooting them on.
Aggro described it really well. Yikes. When it comes down to it. There's a lot that can go wrong, a lot that can go right, on both sides. And the thing that is strong about Envy, and Nick had mentioned this kind of coming out of that last map and into this map, it's very important. Envy take it one map at a time. They aren't thinking about the set.
Right.
They aren't thinking about where they are. We're down 2-0. That's, all right, we got to play a Stone Keep game. We're coming in, playing Stone Keep, hoping for the best, obviously, and they know that there's something on the line, but it's not threatening their mind state playing the game.
The personalities of the players and their Paladins intelligence level play a big role in that, right? When you talk to them, the way that they're able to keep that level head during this process, and having someone like Meta Pusher that can, anybody who might be getting nervous in it, bring them back to earth and say, it doesn't matter, you just need to win 3 games of the 5. It doesn't really matter what order or when. But here, Rubu is back on the ruckus, and even after all the changes, it can still be a very potent pick for him.
And still incredibly strong with the way he's playing it right there. Going to be good. And you can see the loadout had shifted. Again, a lot of people used to run damage reduction. Now you're looking at the damage that can come out from his missiles. Unfortunately, that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Evil Eye and Cuskcutie press the gas pedal as hard as they can. And Envy, what looked like a terrific start for them, it's another team win.
Oh man, and the stagger too. No one cares how if you're low on HP, they just want Ruber to stay at bay for as long as possible.
Oof.
Yeah, oof. Oof. Good word. Sig of 72% right now, still climbing for G2 Esports. Team NB finally making their way back into the fight, but holy crapola, even Tolkien before he can touch onto it, look how low he is.
And then just burnt down. Vex gets credit for the kill. Ruckus goes in. You do have that second front line who can jump in, but the problem is it's 99-9. You have a lot of time you have to spend on this point, winning not only, again, this fight, but the next fight, and honestly, probably one more right after that to be able to keep control, but you're at 36%. You're being able to maintain at least a little bit of pressure. Evil Eye, Cuskcutie gone, so you're pushing them back.
And with that, they've been able to climb. It's looking much better for them as they've gotten this angle of the objective, I think. Especially, even if you have someone like Inara, you notice where she is right now. It's not necessarily the typical place that we're used to seeing her, but still working out for them as Ruber gets the double kill. And they're past 93% overtime once more. Random Noob taken to the opposite angle to actually collapse upon this Fernando, who has to pop the ultimate and the Hexafire into the face alongside this Dread Serpent. 99% overtime once more. Back off just to get Vex away and out, as now the fight continues.
Immortal came through, and Rubu, all he had to know was that he was at 99% on that ult, and he just needed to be a little patient. Once it comes down, they get a couple kills. A lot end up falling 3 for 3 there towards the tail end. The two front lines, the only ones who survive, but Envy stand on the point. They do not let it go, and admittedly very close back and forth between the two, but that last fight, that angle, everything they did, they played it the way they needed to.
I really liked what I was saying for both sides. The Immortal was a great way to try and delay, but then when there's a Hexafire that can just
charged up.
Just charged up, and Immortal doesn't last forever, even though I guess the word itself, technically in some definitions,
kind of implies that it might last forever.
You are immortal for the time being.
We needed Fernando to, actually be balanced, and making him just genuinely immortal is not good for the game.
Yeah, call it a hunch, but I don't think we'll ever actually see a champion that's truly immortal in Paladins. I don't know what's telling me that, guys, but I'm gonna have to go.
It's a good hunch to have.
Yeah, it may be risky, it may be out there, but nonetheless, still vulnerable enough for people like Rubu to be able to punish him. Farfire coming from the side of G2. But now, it took a little bit of a delay. Envy, they're passing this corner. G2 Esports are recognizing exactly where their next choke is going to be.
And we had mentioned that Envy take the game and the set kind of map at a time. Okay, this one didn't work out well for us. Oh well, next one. We're in Stone Keep. That's what matters to us. That's how that round went for them as well. That first fight doesn't go there. You could see Rubu at one point just stops moving. He's like, I know they're going to stagger me. There's nowhere I can go. We're just going to let this happen. Let it roll over us. I mean, it's the beginning of the round, right? Beginning of the game, whatever. Shrug it off. Then they come back in ready to fight the way they had intended to the first time around. And G2, I don't think expected that level of recuperation from Envy.
Yeah. Kind of just responding to the attempted stagger. When I stand still enough, I become invisible. And that's what Rubu was channeling in that moment. But through time and space, right down the center, gets a kill onto Rock Monkey. Rubu throws one back onto Cuskcutie, though, as we're in the final 22 seconds before overtime. And these ultimates are back online as well.
Healing coming through, just trying to get Envy back online. But the problem is just trying to get this payload rolling again. You've lost your momentum. You've kind of hit the snag, I think, in all of it. But you're coming up on this archway. This is going to be a very important part of this. It's very difficult to fight through. And the way things are going, Envy might be able to make the break, but it's just not quite enough.
Yeah, this is still a bit tough for them. It's 1-1 right now. It's going to be a brawl. That's kind of what you get at this point in the game. Okay, so last time they had gotten some early objective capture, and then it was G2 that made the run back.
Ooh.
This is a nice way to just start off that fight.
Vex! They have families, dude. Calm down.
I've been loving seeing Vex with them, because that advantage of, yes, he's technically the recent add to this roster, but he has played with these players before. He's been working on support for a long time. And being able to jump in that capacity seems to be what G2 is needing as far as pushing into that style that they already have adopted.
It's one of those things that, you know, I feel like changes like that usually can just be called like a plug and play, right? Where it's like, you are a pro-level player, you're a pro-level support, we need a support, we're going to pull you in. Or it's not even we need a support, it's just kind of like, we're already friends, we know each other well, you play at this level, you just add them in and it fits like a glove that you've had your entire life. Everything is just perfect. Maybe not your entire life. Kid gloves don't fit as well.
Yeah, I guess. If you have a glove that fits your entire life, those must be expensive gloves that just
fancy
like,
gloves
expand
given
properly.
to you by a wizard as you were young. No one else? That's just me?
Some kind of enchantment. I mean, Gore apparently has some gloves that we don't know about. It's pro level strats, guys.
It's my skin.
the skin does grow as you grow. So G2 Esports, though, passing 90%. Is this time Envy, are they going to be able to make it in the right capacity? Not so much, because Rubu got gripped up before he could land down.
Being able to find through now a couple of rockets, Tulky in a good spot maybe to get some turnaround or at least some pressure, but they have to fall back. This is one of those awkward moments. You lose Rock Monkey as well as Rubu, and you just don't have as much pressure. Random Noob going down, staggered out just a little bit, 10 seconds overall behind Rock Monkey, and that's going to give G2 just a little bit more room on this payload to move forward.
And right now, iDropBodies is actually taking a very vulnerable approach, and he did actually get punished for it. There were a couple of members of Envy on the high ground, a couple that he had his sights on and really just wanted to poke away at, but as soon as they noticed him, they turned the tables and right through that sustain, as Envy hopefully able to hold it this time, being Rock Monkey super aggressive right now. And it's the same thing. Each person wants to just jump forward and have that impact, and then they get punished.
Now looking to be able to lock down just a few members of Envy, but again, you're seeing this payload slow install at around the same point, maybe a little bit further than Envy was really able to push theirs, but it's at the exact same archway every time. This is the difficult area. You have to have one good flank, one good push, and 1, 2, 3 good really kills that push this forward for you. And then once you get past it, it's easy again, right? It's just trying to get into this archway because it kind of squishes you all together. It makes it a lot easier for the damage to get dumped right onto you.
Yeah, when you have comps like that, that's the way to go ahead and do it. Random Noob, though, with the double kill onto the frontliners nonetheless. So a lot of that protection has just gone to the wayside for G2. But we still got 55 seconds to go for this potential push. And Envy are making their way into the Cathedral as Random Noob continues to pick them up.
Being able to find some kills there. 45 seconds left means that there's just enough time on the clock to be able to get an overtime, but you really are going to have to push for it, especially with the way Envy have been playing these last like just 30 seconds, being able to push you back and win these fights. A nice dismount right there from Rock Monkey. Even if it doesn't follow up with a kill, it at least stops some of the pressure.
Not in my house, you don't, G2. We have all our doors locked on the high and the low. Yeah, but there's one way to try and break through a door through time and space that immediately forces Rubu off the high ground, pops the Hexafire, deletes iDropBodies, look and delete this Fernando, but he's got the Immortal as well, not for long. Once again, a great solution. Vex running for the hills, but the hills were not enough cover for him.
Immortal versus Emitter Shield with Ruckus damage versus Fernando damage. Ruckus comes out on top of that one, able to not only outstand that flamethrower, or outlive the flamethrower damage, but also apply the pressure right back, get a couple kills, and tie it back up. But that, honestly, kind of makes me just as nervous as if that goes through if I'm Envy, because all G2 need is a capture and convert. Granted, all you need is a capture and convert, and so you have to kind of come into, again, approach this with the right mindset to make sure you don't put yourselves down.
And I think a lot of that last defense, you saw Random Noob, he had his moment, right? A double kill here, a double kill there. And then when he was ready to step back, then Rubu with the ultimate and the Hexafire. It will be a bit of time before the Hexafire can come online. But you at least know G2, they used so many things right there in the end just to keep themselves alive during that attempted push that Dome Shield's going to be the only thing that they'll have up, really.
So Random Noob in his loadout actually has something that you can see right here. Using Grumpy Bomb gives him a little bit of movement speed. Mad Bomber. And he takes a point out of Reinforced Casing, only 56 instead of the 70 from that. And to kind of enable this, that 14% movement speed either allows him to engage or disengage when he wants. It allows him to either accelerate that kind of kill, which is something we've seen in past Bomb King loadouts, or just fall back if need be. Right now, he's pressing the gas pedal.
Another Dread Serpent. Evil Eye gets the kill onto Mr. Hayes. Random Noob without any of that healing available to him, though, ends up falling to Evil Eye as well. And suddenly, Rock Monkey, only one alive, and he's barely doing that.
Few good shots here and there, and it's one of those moments you take a blaster versus blaster, but Drogoz knows you're coming through a door, and he has his sight trained on you. So he's going to be able to find that right there. Drop bodies, gets aggressive, and this is more just a hold than anything else, because that's 93%.
I'm just going to back off this time. G2, they get the capture, and that's why there's no need to get stupidly aggressive or anything in that moment, because it's going to take so long for the payload to actually catch up to that fighting point. So right now, you see Rubu. You just take him out. A nice come up to get the stun onto Cascuti, but actually he has to back off as Bodies and Evil Eye both pick up kills, and Evil Eye has a Dragon Punch, looks to find a target, takes down Tolki.
Man, Inara's chin just has a target painted on it every single time Drogoz wants to punch something.
Yeah.
It is a very easy target for him.
The rock isn't strong enough to hold against that type of punch.
I mean, think about it. It's not just a punch, right? He is literally boosting with all of his rockets. Every bit of fuel he has goes behind that punch, plus all the rockets he normally shoots. So a lot of damage that can take down the Inara. Makes it a little bit more rough when you're in that kind of position of, hey, you have to be the one who takes the brunt of this damage.
Just way too heavy in that scenario. Random Noob looks like he's so close to chunking down Dosteps, but Dosteps has his own escape mechanism and uses it at the perfect time. Yeah, there's just nothing you can do. Goes Dragon Punch. I mean, we were watching, what was it, that slapping contest of people just, maybe if Inara goes through some of that, just toughens up a little more, tries to hold her ground against something, but always going to be the target for a play.
Being able to find a lot of damage right here. Random Noob has been the thing turning around. There's going to be Vex finding the shot onto the Bomb King and creating some space. A little bit of follow-up, but Rubu being able to get rid of the healer does cause a lot of trouble for G2. 55 seconds, and this payload is definitely going to be hard to push.
And right now, I drop bodies as this buck. This is an angle you like to take, but last time he ran in a little too quickly and got punished during the previous round. This time, with the collective staying with the rest of the team before he actually rotates, ensuring he has an eye on everyone. As Evil Eye pops his head over to deal some damage, Josephs cleans it up onto Rock Monkey, and without the bow anywhere in sight, maybe that's the way to go ahead and take care of this. Another Dragon Punch, but this time into Rubu.
And going to be able to eliminate the Hexafire in the process. Random Noob finds the kill. Tolki and them being able to eliminate 3, but Drop Bodies is still alive, looking for everything in his power, but with 15 seconds left, that's G2, I think, or Envy, finding the stall they needed at the time they needed. There still might be enough for overtime.
Because it's the whole case where even though there were pretty much equal kills on both sides, Envy is on the defense. They spawn back quicker. It's not as much of an issue. But G2, because there's also just enough time for them to get back onto this point, they are going to attempt overtime right now. Evil Eye, though, a few shots from death. And Rubu is in pursuit, just a little more. And there goes the Dragon Man.
And I want to say Rubu right there was kind of the saving grace. Him and Random Noob together. And I guess Rock Monkey was probably getting some arrows in on there, but it was Cuss when he comes around, gets the overtime. It was just a couple of rockets, a couple of bombs. There's not much you can do to live through that. It was just a lot of bursts and being able to tie it up again. 3-3.
Double kill.
2 times in a row.
Yeah, that was a really nice Dragon Punch. I liked it. And a lot of times when you're going, because of the fact that Team Envy, there are a lot of them around, right? And when you do a Dragon Punch in the middle of a collective team like that, it turns into that trade your life play, which you're okay with as Drogoz. But he just
I can be
had
your hero,
yeah.
baby.
But he didn't even have to put on the sad music. He just said, I'm just going to keep pumping it through with some rocks, some hip-hop, whatever he actually listens to. I don't know what Drogoz's style is, but kept himself alive, kept that pump going for him. That's why it wasn't needing to let up, and right now it looks like he's keeping with that same exact effect. Dosev picks one up onto Random Noob. It is a trade. Vex dealing out some damage as well. 2 for 2 on each side. No immediate rotation towards the objective, just to tap down once in a while.
There again, the glory of being invisible. No one knew where Rock Monkey went. Unfortunately, he gets found out before that Planted can do the damage it really wanted to, or as the Planted was trying to do the damage. Unfortunately, going down right there. Drop Body's going to be able to take control. Envy looking to fight back in. Tolkien taking a ton to the face.
Dang, at the seismic crash, but the Immortal was there on the opposite end. Evil Eye, I Drop Bodies with a double kill, looking for one onto Rock Monkey, but Rock Monkey said, nope, this bag over my head protects me, gives me some extra vision on you, and I finish you off with the kill.
A nice salvo going to be able to hold on, and again, Doseps is doing what he did on Jaguar Falls. There's going to be Vex, another nice snipe, gets rid of Rock Monkey, and again, that eliminates a lot of Envy's presence.
maybe it just has some really good sense of smell, because Vex has just been able to sniff out Rock Monkey every single time. Evil Eye, double kill, once again, 99% overtime. But where is Envy? None of them are closer, either in the grave or by their spawn, and G2 Esports take the set.
That was beautifully played from both teams. The last two maps were a lot closer than I thought they were going to be, honestly, after game number 1, but exactly what I'd expect from these two. Envy was just there, and it honestly feels kind of like that first map deficit really kind of dug them a shallow grave for them for that set.
And 4-0 in game 1, a 4-3, then a 4-3. That's always the thing about Paladins, right? Is even when it's a 3-0 in the favor of one team, you can still have that fight back and forth where Envy can take a look back at those games and try to break it down on what they should be doing in the future.
And honestly, the way things went, there was a lot that went right during those last couple games, and then a lot that, when it came down to it was just G2 playing phenomenally, and it's really difficult to deal with that. There's no plan, there's no strategies for your teammates or your enemies playing better.
I mean, maybe they're your heroes, baby. G2 with the victory, so let's send it back to the desk.
G2 complete the sweep over Envy there. I mean, it just looked to me like G2 was the better team today.
Yeah, frustration, it comes to mind. I'm seeing kind of glaring mistakes being made by Envy from everyone on the roster, especially in that game. And then when you're looking at, I mean, we were walking back to the desk kind of watching the replay, and you were saying, man, Envy have so many ultimates, no way they lose this fight. And you would think so. You would think so, Aggro. They couldn't get a leg to stand on. King Bomb evaporated mid-air. Hexafires are getting dragon punched out. Evil Eye's getting every single one of those all. Time and spaces are picking off Rock Monkey. Everything going right for G2, nothing going right for Envy.
And that's usually how these sweeps between teams that are in a similar talent level end up happening, right? Where one team is making plays and also finding the right timings. I mean, calling it luck would be disingenuous, I think, but things go, the universe leaning your way certainly does happen in opportunities like that, and G2 took full advantage.
That does this type of dragon punching does not normally happen. It's been a big conversation, right? Because teams have gotten so much better at counterplaying it. Yes, you're probably going to lose someone. Another failed Hexafire on screen right there. Dragon Punch normally gets traded out. You normally lose your life for it almost immediately there. But I think the way G2 were using it, they had so much space to just make a fight that was kind of already going their way, hands down, be their fight.
It usually was used in the two-on-one opportunities in G2's favor, but it makes sure that it doesn't take them too much time to knock down these tanks, lets them set up in position as the rest of the team of Envy is coming in, and G2 look dominant here in their game up against Envy. The top seeds in NA and Europe, respectively, G2 and Fnatic, take care of some of the top contenders in their region and make it look pretty easy doing it.
Yeah, the race not looking as close as it once was here. G2 flawless on the day, but I feel like Envy really not playing up to their standards.
We'll have to see if they can bounce back. They go up against SK next, and as we get ready for that, take a listen. We got a chance to sit down with SK's captain, Bitey.